Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here, doing another video, and I've been thinking about this a little bit more, because I've kind of gone back and forth with some stuff, so in regards to the current situation and crisis that we're in, which Gordon White, I listened to Ruined Soup last night, and he believes that we're on the precipice of this ending because of all these things that are going on around the world, all these protests, and I'm hoping that he's right. Now, one of the things that I started thinking about just like a couple minutes ago is how they estimate the F virus. I'm just going to call it that, deaths every year. And how do they do this? Like, do they not test as much for that virus if someone has another condition? See, these are the unanswered questions I have. A lot of people have unanswered questions. It's just like 9/11. It's like, why was a passport found intact for one of the hijackers by the towers? I mean, it's like, oh, well, there's a reasonable explanation for that. No, there's not. It's still a stretch of credibility. Maybe hypothetically, scientifically, it's possible somehow there was an intact passport for one of the hijackers found by the World Trade Center, but still stretches credulity, period. So I've had that troll that I talked about a couple of videos ago, kind of go on the attack again. But I just ask these questions. I think it's good to ask questions, and that's one of the things I was thinking about. It's like, okay, flu. Oh, I almost said the word. Foo deaths are an estimate. Foo with an L instead of an O. Every year, they're an estimate. So how the hell were we testing that before? Sometimes they say, oh, up to 60,000 per year, or how many deaths were that? But by omission, this with versus from, conspiracy theory seems to be somewhat credible with that omission of previous years, not counting certain viruses the same way. And that's kind of why it gave fuel to the fire for the people that are talking about this. Now, there were some dumb things, like the right wing said, only 6% of people died from the virus. Even though, if you did a little more research, there was some of these comorbidities that were caused by the virus. Like John Campbell did a really good video kind of clarifying that. Now he's kind of going in the other direction, which is interesting, but, we're seeing a lot of this. So that's my question. Like, I've done this before. I've talked about this before. I remember remembering in 2020, I was talking about this going on. I mean, over 2 years of almost 2 years of doing videos about this. March 28th was my first video about this subject of 2020. And the reason was because I was reading these weird ass articles like about the new normal and all this shit. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. It wasn't just like in 2009 where they had the H1 N1 thing going on. It was a little different than that. So, because I don't remember that kind of weird like proclamation that was made about that. People were careful about that. There was a Action Jackson Nation available for that and treatments. And people, they didn't lock the world down for that. No, I'm not saying it. And then I read some actually articles that people said that more like, there was one, and I think it was BBC, that 10 times more people that were counted died from it, possibly, and all this stuff. I'm just like, really? Because they counted things a different way. You go from those two proclamations, the fact that they estimate F virus, not an STD, like, not a fuck virus, I mean, F virus, every year. And also that the thing that people are estimating that deaths were higher, like 10 times higher. But these you can come up with, extrapolate from that they definitely did things differently with this regards to this the sort of Travanca bug, as some people call it, So that's kind of how I think of this. It's like they're definitely doing things. They definitely did things differently. I mean, nobody can deny it now. That they counted things differently on this, and it doesn't mean that people that died from it, and it doesn't make that any better. It doesn't make the misery that people have from after effects, from it any better, any more excusable or anything like that. And I'm not saying that, but this one factor I always wondered about, because it's just a question that I have. And I pretty much answered my own question. You can extrapolate from that what you will. It's there's nobody coming out and saying, for example, that Russiagate was all bullshit. But if you read between the lines and extrapolate that the what was it called, the piss tape was bullshit and all that stuff, it's like, well, you extrapolate a lot of that was bullshit just from these things, little pieces that came out. You can add together because you do your own research. Oh my God, forbid! Don't do your own research. Trust the experts, but only the assigned experts. Yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna do my own research. I'm gonna read my own shit. That's what I did all along. 9/11 happened. I did my own research. I was obsessed with Scientology too, by the way, as if people didn't already kind of know that. I read a bunch of stuff on Scientology like over the years, and I know a lot about that because I did my own research, and I even went there to one of the missions. I just fascinated by the whole thing, and I have a bunch of L. Ron Hubbard books too. I probably have like 20 of the books. I don't have an e-meter, but if anybody was willing to donate one, I'll take one. I'll actually do solo auditing and stuff too. Oh, I'm a squirrel now. Yeah. There were a lot of squirrels on my porch like this fall and winter that were eating one of my chairs, and I had to throw it away. But anyways, because I live in my mom's basement that has a porch on the second story. And I'm a virgin that lives in my mom's basement. I'm a virgin that is... I'm not going to go into that. It's had so much sex that never mind. I just love these trolls. It's just funny. If I could afford fixing my teeth, I would. But I probably would do that. I'm losing weight again, so. And I'm also exercising every week, so. Yeah. And meantime, I bet a lot of these trolls are just like fucking bigger than... They could probably eat me and still make room for another me in their body, So, I mean, that's probably the case. It's just so stupid. But anyways, back to that video. That's kind of what I extrapolate from that. And it's just, why would they do these things? Why would they lie about this stuff? Why would they change these narratives so much about things, how things were? But yeah, from the onset, it was very questionable how they counted with versus from. And also the 28 days thing, if you look at that was English. It was BBC did it. I think an article about the 28 days from a positive test. If you die, you're still counted as a death from it. I mean, and I don't know much. America's kind of varied all over the place. There was that infamous Illinois video, that stuff like that. But it's like that doesn't really bode well for people that don't believe in a conspiracy. It kind of gives a lot of fuel to the fire. So, but yeah, that was just a question I had, because I just thought, wait a second, we estimate the FLU virus every year, the deaths from it. So why, how much are we testing for that when someone dies? See, it's like, put it together. Wait a second, And it doesn't mean I don't think people should take the jab or anything like that. I'm just going to give a disclaimer here right now. I don't think that the hysteria about the jab is as... I think some of it's hysteria, but I've heard some stories too, more now in my anecdotally, that I was surprised by, that I didn't know. So I don't think it's a good strategy just to have people get the Wi-Fi boost every couple of months for the rest of their lives, or even more jabs necessarily, depending on what your risk level and your age and stuff like that. If it becomes something every year, then certain amount of people should have the right to take it. And there should be better treatments, but they shouldn't force people or mandate it by any means, or have your little QR code to enter a bar. But that's not what this is all about. I'm going to do a video coming up about how I think some of these liberal outlets that I used to like and then kind of went more questionable are starting to kind of turn back around to being legitimate. That's about all.